Hey everyone, we have some big news to talk about. Of course, playoffs are also in full swing, so we're talking about big game fives, sixes, and potentially game sevens this weekend. Keep an eye out on my personal channel for some live streams. But we're talking about this. Mats Sundin potentially joining the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's been speculated for a while here. It looks like it's nearing a decision where Mats Sundin, according to Nick Kyprios, is also scanning the real estate market, potentially buying a house soon. If that is all true, Mats Sundin could be joining the Toronto Maple Leafs in a high up, potentially president role, whether it's president of hockey operations and then a general manager below him. That's getting close to being announced here, I believe. It's getting really close. They wanted it decided here either before the draft lottery or right after, like in around that time. They wanted it decided. And then, of course, with a month or two prior to the draft and the offseason. So there's so much speculation out there. But Elliot Friedman on Oilers Now, and he talked about it on 32 Thoughts as well, talking about a John Chayka and Mats Sundin combo, and it looks like it's getting closer to that. A lot of people putting their opinions out there. I like Jay Roseill's opinion, and I think there's a lot of negativity around John Chayka. Of course, he became the youngest general manager at 26 with the Coyotes organization. Now that's 10 years later at 36. And of course, the Coyotes organization was just a disaster. So I don't think you can really specifically hone in on John Chayka for that. But there are other things that people are concerned about with John Chayka. But Jay Roseill's talking about it, saying, starting to sound like it might be Sundin Chayka. Chayka didn't have too much to work with in Phoenix, and there must be a reason he was given the reins at 26 years old. I still have my reservations. Keith Yandel is also not on board with this, and a lot of other former players seems like they don't like the John Chayka vibe, just the analytics, right? He's more analytic driven. That's his background. And then Mats Sundin would be more the hockey guy at the top. Of course, Mats Sundin, legendary Toronto Maple Leaf. No one needs to be sold on that. Of course, people are going to have their conversations around Mats Sundin's lack of experience. There is an Athletic article from Jason Botchford. When was this? This was back in 2019. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff negative about Chayka. You guys can go check it out. I'll link it in the description. There's a lot of stuff there just about how Chayka was feeding information around the league. Of course, the co-founder, Stathletes, now run by his sister, Megan Chayka. You'll probably see her on TV here and there. John Chayka, of course, has that background. He's stepped away from the game after he resigned in 2020. So if he does get hired, I'll go deeper into the moves. There's some good trades. There's some bad trades. His draft history is not great, but that could probably be more on the, I would say, draft staff in terms of the scouts, in terms of the amateur scouts with the organization. And of course, the Coyotes were a mess, so not surprised by that. And then you'll have your negativity, like the accounts talking about how Sundin Chayka is literally just Shanahan Dubas, but worse. I mean, I'll put it this way, guys. I think Shanahan had clearly an issue with how he was, I would say, tied to those players. He got invested. He was tied to those guys. He did not want to move on. Mats Sundin is not tied to many of these guys. I mean, sure, he has the relationship with Ty Domi, so generally Max Domi, and then, of course, the relationship with William Nylander and the Swedish connection. All of that, Austin Matthews being in the goal conversation and all-time Leaf conversation. So Mats Sundin, of course, is going to have respect for that. But it's not like he's married to any of these guys. I think Mats Sundin would come in, and Mike Johnson and other people have talked about it. Mats Sundin has really strong opinions about this team and about how it's been constructed in the past. So if there's maybe a clear separation and Keith Pelly lets these guys run with it, Mats Sundin make the tough hockey decisions, and fans will have respect for him. And John Chayka stay more in the background with the analytic decisions and support that side of the game. I think the most successful organizations, more times than not, and the Dallas Stars are an example of this, is they have dedicated guys to dedicated roles, and I would say there's a balance between separating it, like between having like 8 assistant general managers to having just one guy. I think that it's nice to have like 4 or 5 different specialized guys, and I think that's what the Toronto Maple Leafs potentially could do here. So there's got to be a focus on scouting, especially towards the draft. That's something that Kyle Dubas and his staff and Wes Clark were really good at. The Toronto Maple Leafs need to hone in on that again. And then, of course, in terms of the signings and the trades, hopefully Mats Sundin can be a little bit more aggressive on that front. And we'll see what happens, guys. I honestly have to wait to see what happens, but I wanted to break this news that Elliot Friedman's bringing it up again. And clearly, based on what I've heard and what multiple people from Kyprios to Freeman to many people talking about it, Sundin's nearing a decision here. So whether it's a yes or no, we'll find out soon. I hope he does join the organization to some degree, and I really hope that John Chayka, for whatever he's done in the past, whether it's through Stathletes and some of the mistakes he made in terms of all of that, I hope this is not some sales trick here in terms of selling himself into here. I hope this is more he's learned his lesson. He's learned the mistakes with the Coyotes, a poorly run organization and bad ownership. I hope he comes in and has all the tools, because let's get it straight. Going from the Coyotes to all the tools that the Toronto Maple Leafs have to offer, that's night and day. So hopefully John Chayka can really use that to his advantage, and his mind and everything he has towards analytics, I hope he can actually use towards this organization and have a good team around him. So I don't know too much about the guy outside of the history that we can see, but that article does worry me a little bit. So I'll drop it in the description. You guys make your own judgments, and we'll see what happens officially coming soon. So subscribe, like, comment, notification bell. Hope you guys subscribe so you can see more content and live streams coming up. And of course, check out the John Vivero's YouTube channel, because I'll be doing live streams on there. Thanks, everyone. Peace.